Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. Welcome to Being Here.
Yes, welcome to being here.
I'm Ariel.
I'm Shia.
Listening. You can't have a relationship without it.
That is true. Well, you can have a entanglement.
You can have a conflict.
You can have a battlefield.
Today, let's listen to each other. It's already started for me as Shia is speaking to simply let go of anything that's happening in my forward thinking mind to hear what he has to say from his perspective.
As if it has value.
Have you noticed?
We finish each other's sentences.
Part of that happens for us because we truly listen, so we hear what's happening with each other. And if he happens to finish my sentence in a way I wasn't
expecting,
yes, thank you, or intending, or vice versa, we let go of the idea that we had to hear what the other has to say, and it makes it very rich.
Wait a second. We let go of the idea that we had to hear what the other had to say. I didn't get that.
So I can't remember what I was saying a moment ago, but I paused and I was formulating a word. I was saying something different than I intended, and you said expected, which, by the way, was a better ending to my sentence than the one that was trying to swim up to the surface. So I dropped what I thought I was going to say to hear the meaning of what you had to say, rather than, wait a minute, you're not letting me speak.
Well, it's interesting. We have these ideas about how things should go.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they're not going the way we think they ought to go, the normal response is upset, annoyance,
irritation.
Yeah, that's that.
So upset, annoyance, irritation all dissolves as you're being here. So today we can just slow down a bit, listen to each other,
and get here.
Makes life fun. Luckily, we have a couple of lovely guests to be with us today to support us in our whole theme of listening and being here. And let's take our first one, shall we?
Oh, yes, please.
All right. Our first is Colleen. Welcome, Colleen.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you too.
Yes.
Now, of course, it's for people who are tuning in, it's nice for them to listen. We're doing this via Zoom so we can see Colleen's lovely face. For you, you get to listen. Where are you calling in from today, Colleen?
I'm calling in from Manhattan.
Nice.
Manhattan, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I saw the topic of this Being Here episode, I wanted to call in and be on it, listening. I do have a question.
What drew you to it?
Why is that?
Well, I've known you guys for quite a while, and I've been attending your seminars and learning about listening. And my mind says, wow, I've come a long way to listening to men. I've gotten so much better at it.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I still find that like when I'm with my husband, Jay, Jay and I've been together for about 20 years, and we'll be talking and he'll get excited about like a memory or something. And it's a story I've heard and I know very well. And then he'll start to talk about it. He's like, did I ever tell you about this? My mind, I think, of course you've told me about, I don't say this, but I think it's like, I know this story so well. And then I'll try to be enlightened and I'll say, yes, I've heard before, but tell me again. I just find it interesting how I'm just wondering if that will ever quiet down about trying to listen newly to something, because it's just sweet being with him.
Try to stand up right now. Are you lifting your butt out of the chair? Is it working?
You know, I'm like, we're on Zoom and I've gotten so used to not wearing a bra that I don't want to stand up.
Well, you don't have to worry about it because try never accomplishes it. I'm going to try to listen to him. The other thing is you're talking.
Well, the other thing is you're not listening.
Okay.
See, as soon as he starts saying something that you already know, your mind rushes off to the conclusion. I know this story. I've heard it a dozen times. And he's going to inflict it upon me one more time.
Because even as you're relating it in a rather neutral way, I can see the internal eye roll, even though you're not doing it.
It's not neutral.
I think it's neutral.
Right.
But it's like, oh God, here it comes again. And you're like, of course I've heard this before, but you haven't.
Look, I talk about listening. I talk about being here in the current time. I talk about the 3 principles of instantaneous transformation almost every day. It's always fresh. It's always new, unless you think you know where I'm going. Then you come to a conclusion, not my conclusion, your conclusion, and you don't listen as I speak to you because you know this already. Do you see that?
Right. Yeah.
It's an automatic thing for a very intelligent mind.
And an intelligent mind that has trace memories from being 13. Don't you recall in school when they tried to teach you something and you thought you were oh so sophisticated and you were like, I know this already.
Yeah.
I'm actually recalling when I was in 3rd grade and they were teaching us the rules for softball again before we got to go out and play. And I thought it was the most stupid thing. Of course, I know all the details of the game. I'm in 3rd grade already. And it's so interesting as an adult to discover baseball, which is fundamentally around the same rules as softball. All the nuances and strategy and the behind the scenes of a major league game that I thought I knew every possibility when I was already in 3rd grade. It was like, really already?
Actually, when you were in 3rd grade, you knew every possibility that there was in your reality.
Right.
But
Finite.
that doesn't mean that you knew all the possibilities. It just means that you knew everything you knew and you thought that was all there was.
And I'd already perfected the eye roll with older kids. Like, really, you're going to make us sit through this again instead of letting us go outside and play the game?
Yeah.
And your face morphed into a younger version of you when you're talking about it.
Mm. Yeah.
And I love what you just said, Shia, that you talk about listening and the 3 principles virtually every single day. And sometimes it's when we're in this kind of format. And sometimes it's when we're alone together.
In our private time.
Or with clients. And it's always new.
It's always a creation.
Mm.
So you want Jay to be communicative and spontaneous,
excited
and enthusiastic. Yet, whenever he says something that you think you know, especially if you're already a bit upset, you shut him down in your thoughts. Now, the interesting thing about that is when somebody shuts you down in your thoughts, their thoughts, you feel it. You become the recipient of their judgments. and you feel it on some level. And it may not be apparent immediately, but the next day or two, he may be less available to you.
Mm.
Now, watching your face, I see this information that Shai's given you going into your Catholic zone. You know, we each have our backgrounds and we have our mental structure, and yours is that you really don't want to be a sinner, a good, a bad. Now, if you were still going to confessional, you would go confess that you hadn't been listening properly to Jay.
I can feel that too.
Part of what happens, Shai said something, you don't just hear it, it goes into whether you're a good person or a bad person zone. Because that's how your mind is structured. But if you recognize that, you can include it, set it aside, and actually listen.
Okay.
There was something you said at the very beginning that caught my attention because I think it's part of the overall challenge you have. You said that you've been coming to our seminars for some time now, and you've been learning how to listen.
That's all changed. That is not transformation. Transformation happens in an instant, not over time. It doesn't take time to transform. You just have to be here, and you're already here. So the step is to step out of your judgment system, out of your mind, out of your thoughts, out of the voice that speaks to you, that you believe is you, and you go to war with.
Mm.
So you go to war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know,
It's the cowboy in you.
Yes.
Yeah. Last night, Shia went down to the river and went fly fishing. And I, among other things, did an online Zumba class with a very talented coach, Juta. And there were a number of people who I know who were there from everywhere from as far away as the UK, Oxford, and here, and you know, from all over the world who zoomed in. I was not learning how to do Zumba, and Shia was not learning how to fish. I was exercising the muscles to the best of my ability in that class and having fun. And he was out there doing his best to execute each cast as well as possible. And he actually came home last night. He told me the coolest thing. He'd made these fishing flies that match the hatch. That's what they call it when a type of bug is coming off the water.
See, there are aquatic insects that their life cycle includes time as a bug on the bottom of the river, like a creepy crawly thing. And then at some point, they swim to the surface and they metamorph, they transform into a flying creature with wings.
And then generally they have about a day
of life
to fly, mate, lay eggs, and then either get eaten by something else or die because they're just done. And he'd seen them the night before, so he made some that looked like that. And it turned out that his imitation was a darker color than what was actually coming off. So the fish were going after the real thing and not his fly. And he has this powder that you shake on it to make it
float better.
But you usually shake it on and then blow off all of the powder. But the powder made it a lighter color. So he shook it on there and left the powder on and cast it, and he caught fish.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
Out there learning to be a better fisherman. He was looking, seeing, listening with his eyes, and executing what was possible. Like creativity happens in that. It's
Mm.
not.
Well, it's not only there. I broke my glasses, my reading glasses. I have these, they call them clicks because they magnetically come together to form glasses, but they'll sit on your shoulders as two lenses and you lift it up and it goes click and now you have glasses.
So the magnet is on the nose piece so that it comes
Yeah,
together.
Jay has a pair of those.
Yeah, well, somehow I noticed that I only had one lens on when I came off the water last night. So I looked in my waders and sure enough, I found the other lens because it had broken off. And so I looked and saw, well, how can I put this together? How can I fix this? How can I mend it?
So before he tells you how he mended it, this morning, I'm taking a shower, I'm putting on some makeup, and I see him run up the stairs and the cat runs after him. I'm like, wow, what's going on? He had the inspiration how to fix them. And he went up to find the tools and the pieces.
The material I needed.
And the cat was so excited to see what he was up to. Baby ran up and was sitting next to him while he was up there. And sure enough,
I found a piece of what's called shrink tubing, which is used on electrical lines, wires, where if you heat it, it shrinks. So I cut a piece, the right length to fit around on my glass, the frame of the glasses. And first I took a little bamboo skewer and I heated it to that to see if it would work with that. And when it did, I transferred it to the glasses. I put about an 1.5 inch piece of shrink tubing on, and I took a lighter and I heated it, and now they are fully repaired, at least temporarily, and I'm probably going to repair just as a backup.
now,
But the thing was, it wasn't something I thought about.
but here's the more exciting part. I'm watching your face as you're listening to Shai, and you're starting to see the picture of it, and you're getting excited. I was not only there for it, he explained it to me, he did it, he showed it to me afterwards. I'm hearing it again now, but it's new because I'm listening. And what you're in danger of when you listen to Jay tell you a story once again is getting in touch with his brilliance. But if you get in touch with his brilliance, it blows the story that you're a bad relationship picker.
Is
Yeah.
the word blasé?
Mhm.
See, I think blasé means worldly, but
I always think of it as blah.
well,
Yeah.
let's check.
Let's ask
Let's
Google.
Google.
Or Google's a little.
Define blasé.
Unimpressed or indifferent to something because one has experienced it or seen it so often before. She was becoming quite blasé about ...
Right.
Yes, so that was the right word. You think you've experienced what he's about to talk about before, so you turn it off as though he's just a stupid man.
Shauna had a funny moment last night. We're in the hot tub. I really heated it up. There's a way to trick our hot tub to make it nice and hot. You run the jets and it overrides the top and it makes it nice and warm.
Because they've limited the amount of heat you can generate as a health thing, so they can't get sued if somebody burns themselves.
So we like to make it a little hotter than 104. So we run the jets a little bit, it gets up to 106. So we're sitting in the hot tub last night And we both made some funny noises, and Shia started telling me a story he's told me many times before about when he was young. And is it the Blackman brothers?
Yes.
See, were these brothers who were out in the ocean, and they were making these woo, woo sounds.
That wasn't them. That's a
Different
different
brothers.
story. It was just two
Two guys.
apparently older men, because I was 18 years old, and then everybody was older.
And they,
I was a lifeguard at the time.
thank you for correcting me. They were making whooping sounds, and Shai was embarrassed for them.
Because I was so conservative, thinking I was so liberal.
So last night he goes, "What do our neighbors think?" And he starts going, "Whoop," like really making like these amazing sounds. And I got embarrassed. I thought that was so funny. I was like demonstrating your, and it was so much fun.
Because we all have been programmed to fit in and not be weird.
What will our neighbors think? Not that we've ever met them.
Right. There are some neighbors around within a quarter mile of a house. There's probably
I mean, the
6
ones
or 8.
across the street are farther away, but the ones on either side are a real distance. But I thought it was really funny that my natural inhibitions kicked in and I watched them. Anything you resist or try to learn from, Colleen, persists, grows stronger, dominates your life.
Anything that you learn from comes from the idea that you don't already know everything. See, where you're inept rather than you have the ability to look and see and find the answer. So with regard to my repairing my glasses, it isn't something that I figured out. It came to me in an instant that I had a material that could, in an instant, repair the glasses. That would be better than anything else. And I thought of doing things like putting pieces of wire into it to support it and make it stronger, but I just fixed it.
It's not that he knew, as in knowledge, how to do it in advance, but when you look and see, you're capable.
I'd never repaired a pair of glasses with some shrink tubing. So it was not something that I had in my body of knowledge of information from the past.
I think most importantly here, though, Colleen, is the second principle, which is this really weird idea that's based in science that you're perfect.
Exactly as you are. And oh, by the way, that would make Jay perfect also. Even if he repeats stories from his past.
And third principle, anything you see without judging completes itself. So here I am. I've heard that story and I automatically conflated. I put two together. I had the Blackman brothers, which are different ones. They're the ones you went fishing with.
Skin diving.
Skin diving. Good. See? I've listened, but have I heard? Because I automatically pulled a picture from what I knew as he was speaking last night, and what I knew was inaccurate.
Well, what you knew was what you knew, but there are other things outside what you know that exist.
But see, third principle, anything you see without judging, it frees you, it completes itself. So I'm not a bad person for having
not listened.
Yeah.
See, and you've got a mind, and the mind is a very quick computer, but it's all based on the past, and it makes projections into the future about how it's going to turn out. It never is pretty. Because the mind is a survival machine, so it teases out the worst possible outcomes. See, I was going to use the word scenario, but I've said that before to you.
I think thank you so much for calling in and with your, being so honest and your example. I love it.
And this thing about honesty is really freeing. Transformation is based in honesty. It's about what is, not what you would prefer and not what you believe to be true, but what is in current time. That's what it's based in, honesty. Telling the truth about it, not trying to get it to look good for one thing or another,
Mhm. Mm. Thank you.
And by the way, give JR love.
Yeah, please.
I will. I will.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
One last question that's not relevant to anything. What is that canister off to your right?
It's a Berkey. It's a water filter.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
And it's a really like high-end, water filter that it doesn't have to be, plugged into your sink or anything. You just load the water in and it's a great filter, the Berkey.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Other people, I'm sure, will thank you as well.
I thought it was a huge coffee room.
That would be great too. Oh.
Okay, here we go. It's time for our listener feedback spotlight, where we hear from one of our listeners about how transformation has impacted her life or his life.
If you want to learn more about our seminars, any of the upcoming virtual courses, visit transformationmadeeasy.com.
That is Transformation Made Easy, easy.com.
I love it.
Hello, here's Renate from Basel. I want to talk to you about how I found my love. I just took another effort and put an advert on a platform where I could meet someone. And I got 2 answers, and one answer I got from a woman who I already knew, and the other one was a new person, and I decided I want to get to know her. And this was in a time where it wasn't very easy to meet people, and we had to keep distance for the first 2 or 3 meetings. But that was very good because we were very, it went slow, and we were talking, making music together. And now I can tell you that it really turned out very well. We got to know each other, and we got together, and we share a lot of common things, and we love each other, and we will get engaged next weekend. So this is my story about love.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shire's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
If you'd like to meet Colleen in person, you can come to one of our Living Made Easy seminars. Next one Saturday, then we have one on Monday. You can find out more about the Living Made Easy seminars on our website.
Transformationmadeeasy.com.
And Magical Relationships is our next weekend seminar. It's coming up in about 10 days. The 26th and 27th, it's a weekend. Also, early August, we're doing a weekend course on the theme of creativity and intuition. If you'd like to join us for any of these or for all, just go to transformationmadeeasy.com and register. Should we take our next seminar?
Oh, please.
Seminar. Seminarian person?
Yes.
Okay.
Guest.
Guest. There we go. Our
Guest.
guest. Hey.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Tracy from St. John's, Newfoundland, and thanks for having me today.
Thank you for joining us.
The topic of this show also really, I was listening to Colleen and it was a great conversation. And the topic of the show also just resonated with me. It was almost like a no. I'm like, what? I have to listen to a man to have a relationship?
Well, with the man, you
Well,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
And
afraid that's part of the game.
And you know what? You are now the mother to a little man. So it's probably something that would be super duper useful for you, because otherwise you will replicate or create difficulties with him that you might have with other men.
Might have had.
Might have had, yeah.
I like
And
that.
I work with a lot of men. I work in the engineering field, and I've been noticing that when certain ones I'm talking to, I find it really hard to listen to them. We don't do the video for this one particular person I speak to, and I find I'm like wanting to Google things, or I say yeah before he's finished his point, and I say yeah to try to prove like something I'm listening, or I get it what he's saying, or like I'll pick my nails, and I find I really have to like, okay, listen to this person, and that other people happens too, but more for this one particular man it happens.
You know, I used to go to an exercise class back before, to a Pilates studio, and you walk in to the studio, and depending on which instructor is there, who is instructing you for the day. And I found that I often had with one instructor, I always looked at the clock. So within 10 minutes, I wanted it to be over. And I didn't have that phenomena with anybody else, or rarely. So I started to recognize that this person and I, but likely that person had some sort of wanting to get their life over with, wanting to get their workday over with, and I recognized it. Third principle, anything you see without judging completes itself. If you have this repetitive way of being with this individual, it's even possible that they are distracted themselves in their lives and you link up with them, or they're trying to prove themselves, or. And if you allow it in yourself and relax into it and take a breath, it's going to be far easier to listen to him. The thing is that when you go off and want to Google, you judge yourself, which intensifies it. You know, the other thing too, we've had a number of assistants over the years, and we had one where I always wanted to go check emails while we were talking, or do other things. And I can't, and I know you can't do this with this individual because he's a work colleague. And I would say, are you okay? I find myself wanting to do emails. I find myself not wanting to be with you. And always it'd be, well, I'm upset this morning and I'm upset about this. And then suddenly my distraction left.
Cool. Yeah, that feels really true. This person has the same position as me, but I'm the new, it's just we're project engineers in the company, and he's the lead project engineer and I'm the project engineer, and he's really nice and friendly and so knowledgeable, but I do feel maybe there's a bit of proving. And
Who's got the proving?
oh, that's true. When you ask me, I was thinking him, but you asking me, I feel it's me.
What's obvious is you are insecure in this relationship, as though you're not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be his prejudices, but it may be your own prejudices. You know, I've noticed growing up in a Jewish family that I am prejudiced against Jewish people. So I wouldn't be surprised if you are prejudiced against yourself
And engineers.
and engineers.
Yeah. And women.
Well, that's what I mean.
Mm.
You know, it's not just him. It's your life view. And that's the other thing. You come from St. John's, Newfoundland, a very conservative,
And tiny community.
very simple people who are very hard on themselves. And you've immersed yourself by moving back to your family in that culture. So, yes, you're proving you have value.
I mean, is there any party that ever wants to prove that you're more sophisticated than you are?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, but the other thing is this, when I said what I said to you, you nodded and smiled. But this is an audio, so it fell really flat. So
Okay.
here's Shia making a statement that gets no answer.
Right.
I bet you do that when you speak to this gentleman as well. He'll say something, you'll nod, even though it's not a visual, and he doesn't get the confirmation of what he said as true or being registered. And then there's the potential for either him to be unsettled, or if you're on a conference call, for him to look like he's strange or dominating or inaccurate, or it sets up a questionable feedback loop because there is no feedback.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And yeah, when Shia said what he said, I forget, I did nod and smile, and I didn't say yes. And it was very true what you said. I'm trying to prove myself in my job. Yeah.
Yeah, look. You're an engineer. You went to engineering school?
Yeah.
Did you get good grades?
Yeah.
Very good grades.
In the beginning, in the end, not as good as in my mind, as they could have been.
Yes, but you got good grades. You got hired by engineering companies in New York.
Right.
They don't hire slackers.
Right, they're not going to take the flunkies.
That's true.
And engineering requires certain skills that the end product will prove whether or not the calculations were accurate.
Right.
If the building falls down, you're not a very good engineer.
Right. Yeah.
We call that architect. Okay, if the electrical circuits catch on fire because they've been faultily planned,
Yeah.
you didn't have any of that stuff.
No, I didn't have any of that stuff.
Right.
Let me give you a different analogy, Tracy, I think you can relate to. You come to a lot of our Living Made Easy Zoom seminars. And people come and they express themselves. Sometimes they express something, a win they've had, sometimes they express something that they're grappling with or they find challenging. And they're very accomplished people. And if they say something and we speak and they listen and they learn something, it's funny because I was just speaking to Colleen that it's not about learning, but you actually do. You see things, you learn things from each other. It's like aha moments. When we're speaking to somebody and they're very defended, is your experience of them as expansive as somebody who comes in apparently naive? They say something, we say something, they're like, wow. I have this feeling that when you're on the phone with this individual, you're trying to prove your either sophistication or your knowledge or your knowing,
Equality.
rather than allowing that person to contribute to you, rather than exercising the possibility that that individual may know something that you don't know.
That would make you a much better engineer.
And if you allow yourself to get excited by what he says, he's going to come away having a better experience of you, not a lesser one, not like, oh, wow, Tracy didn't know that already. It's more like, wow, I made a difference today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if that was totally clear, but I just see, we have people who come who are incredibly intelligent, who are very educated. And when they listen to either us or what someone else has to say, all I see is their courage and their greatness, not that they were faulty to begin with.
Yeah.
But you see, you come from an area of the world where people think they are less.
Yes.
Now, they may be trying to prove they're not, but that doesn't mean they don't, in their heart of hearts, think that they're second class, second rate, not magnificent. Magnificent wouldn't be one of the words they use to describe their experience of living.
Exactly. It would not be.
No.
No.
Well, the climate is harsh. We've got 2 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
winter and darn late into the fall.
Yeah. I forgot until I came back this trip. I'm like, wow, it's still really cold here. I was like, New York had like the warmest weather when I moved there. I'm like, this is the warmest place I've ever lived. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for being our guest and joining us today.
Yes,
Really a treat.
really.
Any excuse to see you is a nice one.
And give Callan a hug and a kiss for us.
I will.
It's been really fun watching Callan
Grow
up via Zoom. Of course, we saw him in the early in person.
When he was an infant, we saw him in person, but now we see him through Zoom. And every time we see him, he's more alert and more engaged and more a person.
And we all get to talk to him. Hi, Callan. And he now waves back to us. It's very fun.
And I can tell he loves it too. Like I wouldn't force him on it. I'd give him the option. Like I'll bring him down with me and he always comes up when he wants to come up and on the Zoom, which is cool. So I love seeing you too.
One last thing. This relationship you have with this little man, that you wouldn't force anything on him. I think some of your ghosts from your past have actually been eradicated, that your ability to relate with men is already far better than you know.
Thank you.
Well, I enjoyed this podcast.
So did I.
Did you enjoy the podcast? Well, if so, you can leave a review on your favorite podcast app. It helps other people find being here. And if you feel to do it, thanks in advance. Ready for next week's episode?
I am.
Getting unstuck.
That's cool. I like that.
We'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss
Being here.